Hi, welcome back to the workshop, and today we are looking at Hornby's revised Class 423 VEP units. Now Mike, on the layout here we have a wonderful forecast set. It looks absolutely gorgeous. Let's talk about it.
Right, so this is it's a rework of Hornby's 423 unit. So these were, well, British Railways introduced these in 1967 as part of the Bournemouth electrification, and they were designed to be able to deal with commuter traffic basically on longer distance trains. There's quite a lot of these were introduced, and the last ones were withdrawn in the early 2000s. Hornby made its first version of this a few years ago, about 10 years ago now, but it needed a few revisions before it could come back out as it has done today.
I have to say that the livery is actually very, very attractive. How many livery options are Hornby actually bringing out with this particular model?
So they brought two versions out with this new batch that's just arrived. There's the South West Trains version, which is basically Network Southeast colours but with orange instead of the red. And then we've got this one, which is a Southern liveried unit, which is actually, there was only ever one that carried this colour scheme, but it does look fantastic.
And it does look amazing. And the other thing, of course, when you look at this model, you don't need to look at it very long to actually realise there's so much detail. Like when you look at the bogies, you can see the pickups for the third rail. You've got exquisite detail inside. Everything looks like it's individually picked out. It really does. It's a very attractive model, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And actually, Hornby's worked quite hard to actually revise the 4 VEP now as well. So it had a few little issues on its first couple of introductions to the market. The first time it ever came out, unfortunately it missed the windows and doors into the compartment walls in the two driving cars. That was all corrected in the second production run. And then in this third production run they've also now revised the front ends to correct the design of the front ends. So it brought the central communication door forward inside the gangway. They've upgraded the couplings as well, so you've got a new power coupling system in it, which is much easier to join together and to detach as well at the same time. You've got a upgraded power car now as well, which has got the motor located in what will be the guard compartment originally, but it does mean it's a bit more discreet than where it was before. It was actually in the passenger compartment. And you've now got no traction tyres. You've got a nice 21-pin decoder socket in there. It comes with a option to put a little moulded speaker enclosure in the back of it as well. So loads of things have happened with the 4 VEP to bring it up to date.
You mentioned this before, the couplings, rather than your typical NEM couplings or even the big old D couplings and having that massive gap between the corridors, it's quite close coupled, and it really looks realistic, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. I mean, they did have a power coupling on these before, but they're much more clunky to join together and much more difficult to take apart as well. I've got one of the original sets which I did a full reworking on to actually make it, backdate it to as it was first built, to model one of the first 20 units. But it's much more difficult to take apart and put together than this is. And it doesn't run as nicely either, which is another important thing about this, is this motor runs much nicer as well.
So what motor have they actually got into the body of this model?
So it's still a 5-pole motor, but they've upgraded the drivetrain and tidied it up as well, so it runs really smoothly. I think the first batches they had traction tyres on them, and whilst they were probably a good idea in some ways, actually I think they did have a little bit of a negative impact to how they operated as well.
Now of course we've got this one working on DCC, as of course anybody can. Yep. What about sound profiles? What's available DCC wise?
Oh, well, there are sound profiles available for these. I've actually got sound in my earlier version of this, which came from Lego Man Biffo. They do a sound profile for a Southern Region electric unit. It sounds nice. It's got nice air horns, compressor sounds, all those important things you get with a Southern Region unit. I mean, one of the most distinctive things about these units is when they sat in stations and the air compressor would come on. You got that tick, tick, tick of the air compressor going off. So it does replicate all that. It's got some nice horn sounds, like I say. It's also got all the guards whistle, driver functions. Really quite enjoyable to operate as a unit with sound fitted.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. So as far as availability and price, when are they available and how much are they selling for?
Right, so they're both versions are now in stock now with Hornby's retail network, and they're priced at £362.99 for the full 4-car set you see here.
Well, as I said at the very beginning of this video, it really is a very beautiful and highly detailed model, and if you are a fan of Southern electric stock, then the Class 423 VEP may very well be just for you. You can read a full review of this model in our April 2024 edition of Hornby magazine, and of course more on keymodelworld.com as well. In the meantime, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.